How do you play Mexican swag with drinks?
Like we chug at the same time.
Bitch, I'm drinking wine. I'm about to die. I have to tell a story. Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to the Red Rum and Red Wine. Don't know the name of my own show. Our own show. Look at me being selfish. I'm sorry.
No, it's our show. It's my show. It's our show.
This is not the Kristen podcast. This is the Red Rum and Red Wine podcast. The show where we talk about
red rum, red wine.
Red rum, red wine. The show where we talk about murder, mysteries, and mishaps. This is your host, Kristen.
What up? This is your other host, Sara.
Back at it again, already fucking up our lives.
Today's hard. Okay.
It's been a week, to say the least. Like, I don't know what
It's
it
Monday.
is. No, like, everyone that I've heard, not like I have friends, but just like people on the radio and internet and stuff, were saying that they were having a really hard week. So Mercury must be doing something, because everyone's miserable. But I mean, I'm glad that I'm not alone in it.
That's why I don't drink tap water.
Yeah. Speaking of, what are you drinking today? Because it's for sure not water, I'll tell you that.
I am drinking a beer called Lorelei. It's an American IPA from...
Ooh.
I think it's somewhere in Tennessee.
That is such a pretty can.
Right? It has a mermaid octopus looking thing on it.
Right? And the colors are like super vibrant.
Oh, Asheville, North Carolina.
Love Asheville. Oh, so many weird peeps up there. Love the vibes and energy in Asheville.
The label on the can is kind of that matte feeling, so it's super smooth.
It looks like a really cool can. I wish I liked IPA still.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of sweet, but not too sweet.
Nice. Well, maybe I'll take a sip of it. Give it a try. Well, I am still dying, but I'm back. We're taking the wine. I had a little bit of coffee before this, so my drinking diet's a little weird right now, but got some Apothic Cabernet to wash it down.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty good.
Coffee and wine.
Oh, such a great combo.
It's
Mind you, it is
drinks.
mind you, it is 9 p.m., but you gotta do what you gotta do when you're podcasting.
It's Monday. It's been a hell of a week.
It's been a hell of a week. And we still got 6 more days. But we had a fun weekend, I would say.
Yes, we appeared as guests on our friend Derek's podcast, A Tilted World. And it was our first time live streaming. It was so cool. We had a fun time. And so shout out to Derek for having us as his guest. And check him out. He's on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and all podcasting platforms. So A Tilted World. Check him out.
Yeah, he was an awesome host and we had an awesome time. He's way better at talking than us, I should say.
Yeah.
Definitely carried like most of that conversation for us.
Time.
Yeah, awkward silence and then Derek picks it up for us. But
No, yeah, it was great.
Now it's just back to the two of us and back to that morbid mood that we all love, huh?
Yeah, back to us providing cringe-worthy content, which is mostly us being cringe, probably.
Most of the time. It's okay. It's okay. But yeah, should we just get right into it? This one is pretty lengthy. I almost debated doing it into parts, but that's a lot of work. So then I was like, no, we'll just all squeeze it in. So.
Holy shit. Well, let me buckle up. I'm excited.
Yeah. Crack one open and let's dig in. Sipping. Drinking.
Dive in.
Dive in. All right. So today we have a disappearance. Our very first one. So I'm convinced that I pick my stories based on how hard it is to pronounce the name of the town. So, right off the bat, I'm sorry. I did listen or watch a Crime Watch video, and they did say it, and I like made a mental note to remember how they pronounced it, but of course I forget as soon as I sit down. So today we'll be talking about the disappearance of the Jamison family.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Jamison family.
Yeah, so this all begins in the town of Eufaula, Oklahoma. The date is October 8th of 2009. I'm sorry, I'm relearning how to talk real quick. Mm-hmm. So we have 44-year-old Bobby Jamison, 40-year-old Sherilyn Jamison, and 6-year-old Madison Jamison, who loaded up the pickup truck and headed into the San Bios Mountains, only to never be seen again.
Oh.
So this disappearance and murder continues to baffle investigators and crime-aholics like ourselves, and there are a lot of questions that we have yet to be answered, so let's just dive right on in.
Yeah, because it's pretty recent, considering.
Yeah. Considering everything, like, I mean, it hasn't even been 20 years yet. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, not
cool, but yeah. You know
I'm
what
ready.
we mean. You're here to listen to it too. You know exactly what we mean. Yeah, that's fine. So a little backstory. Bobby and Sherilyn got married. They have a daughter. Yada yada. typical backstory. Oh my god. The real things that you need to know. I'm so sorry. Just those reporting skills coming right at you live. All those 8 years it took me to graduate college are really showing through right now. But so the husband Bobby was in a car accident in 2003 that left him with chronic back pain. And in turn, this would severely affect his mood. Like, I can only imagine. I get a headache and I turn into the crabbiest person. So he's constantly feeling this pain, and he's just a grouchy dude for the most part. Sherilyn was not in the clear herself. She did have her issues. She suffered from bipolar disorder and was prescribed medication, but she would often choose not to take it. And we've had an episode where we had someone with bipolar who didn't take medicine, and yeah, it doesn't always end good. In fact, in July of 2009, Sherilyn's ex-husband, so her first husband, Bobby was the second, actually took custody of her son, Colton, that she had in that marriage. And in September, she had actually been hospitalized for a failed suicide attempt. So emotionally, things are pretty high in the household. They're not picture perfect. It's definitely something that is rough and probably not the healthiest environment to be around. There was a custody hearing that took place, and they allowed Colton to go up and state whether he preferred to stay with his dad or his mom. And he gave statements that he wanted to stay with the dad, that the mom seemed very depressed and often acted strangely, which breaks my heart. Like, as a child, to see that, it's obviously not good, and my heart goes out to Colton for having, like, especially when you have to go up to the court and, like, basically pick which parent. Yeah, it's just fucked all
Props
around.
to him. Shouldn't have to go through that, but
yeah, definitely sucks. So like I said, she rarely chose to take her medication. She obviously, like, I get a lot of the same, or I read a lot of the same things about people not wanting to take the medication based on, like, how they feel. And one of the blogs that was written about this, the girl was actually bipolar herself, and she attested to, like, how shitty the medication makes you feel, and it's almost kind of like not any better than if you were to just be off your meds and be crazy, at least in their mind, because they're so out of it and they just can't function and be a normal human. But at the same time, she would get severe bouts of depression. She would angrily lash out at everyone, including her husband, because that was the closest to her. So it's not seeming like it's really any better, but that's just the situation that they're unfortunately in. So it's safe to say that this was not the healthiest marriage. The family really did try to keep to themselves. They weren't really public. Like, they didn't socialize that often. They didn't really go out. They really stayed to themselves. So there's not really a lot of like witnesses to say like, oh, this was a shitty marriage. It's just kind of like what you have to, based on the accounts of the family. And the family do say like, oh, yeah, they fought, but I mean, like, everyone fights. So they try to paint it in somewhat of a better light. So it's kind of hard to get a real good picture of what really happened.
Right.
So both of them were highly spiritual individuals. I do believe that they were pretty, like, they attended church a lot, and they were very into the church life and whatnot. Though this may not have been the best thing in their situation, not to say that highly spiritual individuals are bad, but they took it to a whole new extreme. They had actually spoken to their local pastor about a belief that their house had been invaded by dark spirits and that they needed an exorcism performed on their house. Yeah, so they had this notion that something was haunting their house. The mom, Sherilyn, had even said, like, their daughter, Madison, had been talking to an imaginary friend named Emily, but it wasn't an imaginary friend. It was actually a malevolent entity that, I guess, like, wanted to take her daughter or, like, maybe possess her. She said that there was, like, a long dead family that had died in the house that was currently possessing it. And Bobby, the husband, had even asked the pastor if he knew of a place where he could purchase special bullets so he could actually go and, like, straight up Ghostbusters, just go around shooting a handful of spirits that lived on the roof of their home.
Yeah, I know a guy.
Yeah, I know a number you can call. It's Ghostbusters. So also Bobby had also talked to the pastor about how he himself was going to actually go and exorcise these spirits, and how he had actually gotten a copy of the Satanic Bible in order to do this, which I'm like, bro, I think you got the wrong Bible. Isn't that, like, gonna make it worse?
I don't know. Maybe there's different types of exorcisms.
I don't know.
Depending what kind, you use different...
it just seems like if you go to church,
things.
you should be using a Bible.
Like,
that's like what the church teaches you.
Crosses or rosaries, or, you know.
Yeah, I don't really know where the thought process was behind that, but it does make a little bit of sense that maybe they would purchase a Satanic Bible, because Sherilyn was into some weird stuff, but I get into that a little bit later. So the pastor has since left the town and, like, refuses to speak to anyone about this case after he, like, gave the police his statement. But
he dipped.
Yeah, he dipped. Like, after he gave the statement and, like, kind of the dust settled and he didn't really need to be there anymore, he dipped, and he, like, doesn't talk to anyone about it. Which, I mean, obviously I would be really freaked out about that. Like, someone comes up to you and they're asking you about demons and possession, and then they end up going missing. That's, like, some literal Amityville horror shit. So I would not want to die from flies. I would also leave. So he did the right thing. I would do the same. But when the police were done speaking with the pastor, they had actually went to friends of Sherilyn and found that Sherilyn had actually dabbled a little bit of she had actually dabbled a little bit in seances.
Oh.
Yeah. So she was into the witchier stuff. So she would hold a lot of seances. Her friend said that she would always go over to the house and her and Sherilyn would do seances, but Sherilyn took it way more seriously than she did. And on top of this, friends and family that had actually gone into the house before the family had disappeared said that there was, like, a heavy feeling in the house. And that they would experience odd things going on. But they didn't, like, go into detail saying, like, oh, I saw a chair move or a plate being thrown. It was just saying, like, odd things were going on in the house. But with the way that the mental health was in that household, like, I don't find it that odd if you walk in and you feel like it's heavy, because there's a lot of heavy shit going on. Like, they were arguing constantly, and it, like, wasn't a happy household really to begin with. I mean, like, it may have been okay, but it wasn't the happiest. You could definitely say that.
Did they live on a farm?
It's, like, hard to say. So it's like they lived in a neighborhood. They had neighbors that weren't that far away, and they had a house. It was on some type of large piece of land because they did have a storage container that was on the land. And Sherilyn actually did take to spray painting the storage container with some graffiti.
Oh, fun.
Saying, yeah, she wrote, witches don't like it when their black cat's killed. Yeah, so apparently there was someone in the neighborhood that had been killing the cats. I guess that she had some outdoor cats and someone was killing it. So she decided to write that on the storage container in hopes to scare off the neighbors. And, I mean, it worked. They believed that she was a witch, and they tried to stay the fuck away from that house, like, as much as they could.
Wow.
Yeah. But to Sherilyn, they were just, like, self-protective messages. It wasn't... Go ahead.
Yeah. I think I'm going to act like that when I get old, and I don't want to be bothered by people.
That's going to be Sarah.
I'm going to just make everyone think that I'm a witch, so just no one talk to me.
Just do, like, full moon dances and a big bonfire, completely naked. Yeah, people will never talk to you. So, I mean, like, it's not far off. I mean, like, going to the pastor, it makes me believe that they really do believe in this kind of stuff, but...
Yeah.
If someone were to write that on a storage thing, I'm like, they're just sticking around. They're not, like, actually meaning it, but...
I don't blame her using art as a message.
Yeah, you're an artist, you know, and especially, I mean, like, people were fucking with their cats, so, I mean, I would be pissed, too. Would not be happy with that. But yeah, I mean, it worked. The family wasn't bothered by the neighbors, and I don't think that if they got other cats, I don't think the cats got messed with again. But...
Good.
The whole mood of this all kind of came to a headway on October 8th when the family had traveled 30 miles to an area called Red Oak in Sands Boys mountain range. And the reason that they were going over here was that they wanted to buy a 40-acre plot of land, and the plan was to live in a storage shed that they already owned on that piece of land. Okay. Which, I mean, like, I don't really know. 40 acres is a lot of land. I know that much. I can't, like, conceptualize how big an acre is, but that's a fuck ton of land. That's a lot. So, quick history lesson. The Sandboys Mountain is a French term meaning without forest or without wood, and it's a small mountain range in the southeastern Oklahoma and part of the...
Grass?
There's, like, photos, and I'm sure I'll, like, try and find a good one to post of, like, where the truck was found. It's hilly, but there isn't... any trees or any. I mean, it's literally like without a forest.
No trees.
Yeah, it's like just bushes and like the little southwestern dry balls that go across the road when the people are about to have a shoot down. It's just like that shit.
What dry balls are you talking about? Oh my god.
What is it called? It's like, it's not timber. It's like that's wood. It's someone's yelling it right now. I just know it.
Are you talking about a tumbleweed?
A tumbleweed, yes. Yeah, that. So yeah, it's just a bunch of nothing. It's like really, it's hilly. It's not flat land. It's hilly, but there's just like nothing on the land. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a larger part of the Ouachita Mountains, something like that. And it's the frontal belt of those mountains, and it's located in the Haskell and Latimer counties of Oklahoma. So yeah, just a whole lot of nothing. So Bobby and Sherilyn went and visited an associate of the landowner of that plot, and when the meeting was done, they packed up their truck and they packed up and then they went for a short 15-minute walk. They took the GPS with them. They found a quiet spot on a hillside and they just kind of like chilled out. And then after some time, they returned to the vehicle and decided to drive down a little bit further. No one really knows why they did this, but they left their truck fully loaded. They locked the door, left the family dog inside, and were just never seen from again. Now,
so they never made it to their new property.
They made it to the property, I guess, or like they had made it to the meeting with the person that they were doing the transaction with, but after that, they, I guess, like, went on a walk, and then after that walk, they drove up a little further, and then, for whatever reason, like, got out of the car and just vanished. Like, no one knows what happens after that.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, because the Jamisons were, like, hermits. They like did their own thing. They were known to like fall off the radar. And Madison had actually been pulled out of school. It took their family like 4 days to realize that they were actually missing. So after the 4 days, they start to notice like, hey, where's the Jamisons? No one's heard from them. What's going on? And they go to the cops. They start searching. People are wondering what the hell happened. I think like 8 days after that, October 17th of 2009, whatever math that is, hunters on dirt bikes had ran across an abandoned truck in Latimer County, just northwest of Red Oak, and they had called the police to report that vehicle. So when police had went up to look at the vehicle, they initially thought, oh, this is stolen. It's only been here a few hours. We don't really need to worry about it. But those hunters had called and they were like, no, it's been here for a couple of days. Like, y'all need to go see what's up with this truck. It's sketchy. So once they looked into it, that's when things got interesting. So inside of this truck, which they did confirm were the Jamisons' family truck, they found Bobby and Sherilyn's cell phone and wallets. They found maps, the GPS that they had used, Sherilyn's purse, some empty pill bottles, and $32,000 in cash inside of a toolbox. Also inside, they did find the family's dog. It was still alive, but it was extremely malnourished and dehydrated. The dog does end up being okay. I just want to make that known. He makes a little guest appearance on Crime Watch. He's very cute.
Oh, good boy.
Yeah. So when cops come to look at this vehicle, everything from the fuel to the engine, I mean, everything on it's working. Looks like it hasn't been in any type of accident. There's no broken glass around. There's no like sign of a struggle. There's no blood spatter. Nothing to make it seem out of the ordinary other than someone just walked the truck and walked away. Another thing that they found really interesting and what kind of puzzled them is they found an 11-page hate letter from Sherilyn to Bobby. Now, in this letter, she wrote about how he didn't care about his daughter. He was a hermit. He was a loner. He didn't go out. She listed everything that she pretty much hated about him. And in that letter, she told him straight up, I want to divorce you. I don't want to be with you anymore. Yeah. So it's all like, what the fuck is going on? It's so weird. So this area is about an hour's drive from Eufaula, and they had, as soon as they found this truck, got 400 volunteers. Crime Watch exaggerated a little bit and said 1,000, but I think it's more 400. They got horses, they got mules, they got ATVs, drones, they got a 16-team cadaver dog. Wow. Found nothing.
Oh.
Nothing. Couldn't find anything.
What?
Yeah, and rumors start to swirl. Yeah, I mean, people are thinking like random fucking shit. They think like maybe they wanted to go missing. Maybe it was a hit for hire. It's like some crazy shit's going on. They just don't know.
Unless, oh my god, so many. Okay, sorry, go.
They did get those cadaver dogs, and they did find a scent that was near a water tower that wasn't that far away from the truck. And they kept like, I guess, going to that area saying like, oh, maybe something's a little sketchy right here. But they didn't find anything, and the water tower had been previously drained, so it's not like the Jamisons, I guess, had like went to the water tower for water or anything like that. I don't know. But that was an interesting thing that I did see in the research.
Unless they're in the water tower?
They checked it.
Oh.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that they had checked the water tower before. They at least knew that it had been previously drained, so I'm pretty sure that they took a little look-see. But, yeah, we'll find out later. Now, one of the weird things that investigators found about this was that Sherilyn's son, Colton, that she had from her previous relationship, had actually seen the family 2 weeks prior to their disappearance and had said that when he saw them, they gave no mention to wanting to move to San Boys. So it was, I guess, like really random that they were suddenly wanting to move houses when he had no inkling that they were doing this or would even be in that area. Right. I don't find this that weird. I don't know if that's just because I'm a fucked up kid. My dad and my stepmom got divorced, and I literally did not find out until I was driving home from the airport with my grandparents, asking why I wasn't going home. And they were like, oh, your parents got divorced and you're not allowed at that house. So I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah. So, I mean, it's happened to me, so I don't think it's that weird. Anywho, the only thing that investigators did find that was weird once they started digging was a surveillance video. And I did want to send you this. So they found a surveillance video outside of the Jamisons' house of them, and it's just straight up bizarre. Like, there's no... It's so creepy. So
I love a bizarre video.
Yeah, let me send this to you real quick. Yeah, so in this surveillance tape, it's just straight up fucking weird. So Bobby and Sherlyn are walking back and forth from the house. I'm assuming that Madison's in the car. That you don't, like, see her at any point. But what you do see is them just walking back and forth, like, up to 20 times. Probably more. Sometimes they're carrying items. Sometimes they're not carrying anything at all. Apparently, they, like, change outfits at one point. And they don't say a word to each other. They literally just, like, walk back and forth in a complete zombie-like state. And this is the day that they disappear.
Yeah, it looks pretty chopped, though. Like, I'd like to see a better version.
Yeah, I tried to find a more clear version, but I guess this is, like, real early 2000s, so...
It's CT... because that's, like, probably, like, the last time...
anyone saw them, or like any video
record,
was
kind of.
Any video was recorded of them. Yeah, it's really well, and just like what they're doing is really creepy. It's like they're not saying anything. It's just walking back and forth, sometimes with nothing at all. Like, what are you doing? If there, it's just like there's no logic to what they're doing, pretty much. So it's just all up in the air. When you look at this, I don't know about what you thought, but I thought these people are probably on some drugs. They're, like, not obviously in a right reality. They're, like, on something. Or something's up with them.
So, they were wealthy, right? But frugal?
So, they were both on benefits. So, they weren't, like, wealthy by any means. In fact, from what I read, they were, like, in some financial troubles.
Okay. Okay.
So, like, neither of them worked.
$35,000 cash left in the truck.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Drug dealers, right?
No.
Yeah?
Well, why would you leave it? I don't know.
That's the thing. And it's like, we'll get into the theories later on, but, like, how would someone obtain that much cash? Like, there's no way that they got the $32,000 in benefits in cash. Like, you know what I mean? Or, like, they didn't get that cash through benefits. Like, no way. So, like, where did they get the cash from? And why are they acting so weird? Like, you can't say that, like, I get that the CT or the whatever surveillance footage is grainy, but, like, they're walking back and forth. They're not saying anything to each other. Sometimes they're carrying things. Sometimes they're not. Like, even they change clothes at one point. So it's like they're doing weird, illogical shit. It's not someone who has their life put together. It's like, you don't do that for shits and gigs, like, just to do it sober, you know? I don't know. I would say. I don't know. The cops even got a psychologist. So let's ask a professional here. And they did. They got a psychologist to look at these tapes. And the psychologist agreed it looked like it was someone that was on drugs. It's kind of hard to tell, but they look really emaciated in that. Like, they were both pretty skinny to begin with. Like, when you look at photos of them from when they had just had Madison, like, as a baby, like, they're both pretty skinny, but apparently they're even more skinnier. I don't know. But yeah, it's just, like, completely irrational behavior. The psychologist says, like, they have to be on something. There's no way that someone would rationally do this right before they take a trip, at least. I don't know. They also looked into the phone records.
Yeah. If they're not on drugs, they probably usually are. It has lingering, you know, like...
Yeah. Well, they were on some type of drug because Bobby had chronic back pain that he was medicated from. And oftentimes the family said that he would, like, be pretty out of it from the medication. So it's not like they weren't on drugs, because I really don't care what you say. Pills are fucking drugs. It's like a step away from heroin or meth half the time. Like, pharmacists are just drug dealers in white coats. So it's just
have you seen
weird.
The Pharmacist on Netflix?
No, what's it about?
Oh my gosh, it's really good.
Is it like...
Side note, it's a documentary series about this guy who was a pharmacist.
And his
like,
son
the
died.
90s, and his son died.
I saw
he,
that.
Totally goes to bat for the...
It's so fucking true. Well, I mean, like, we got to talk about it at one point, but it's just so fucked how people are able to get away with this. We digress, but it's seriously fucked. And, like, you can obviously tell, like, either way, these people obviously were taking medication, and it obviously affected their mood. If Sherilyn wasn't out of it, Bobby was out of it. And if Sherilyn wasn't on medication, she had mental health issues that were making her, like, angry and irrational. But the cops also did look into the phone records of the mobile phones that were found in the truck. And they did find that an outgoing call was made to the voicemail on November 12th, but it would have been locked inside the truck at that time. And authorities don't really know how the phone call could have been made, and that's like kind of the last I hear about it. So it's definitely weird. It's like sometime after they find the truck. So it's, I don't know, like
the
maybe
dog probably made
or
a butt dial.
Well, no, this because they find the truck on like in October, and this isn't so October 17th they find the truck, and the outgoing call was made November, oh my god, where was it? November 12th. So like that's almost a month after the truck was found. I'm thinking like maybe one of the cops fucking did it, like on accident, but I don't know, like it was in the evidence locker and something accidentally got hit. Like I really don't know, but it's just weird, and they don't really think that much of it because that's the only thing I hear about it.
They're live and they changed their number.
Well, that would have been a good theory until November 16th of 2013, when just 2.7 miles off from where the Jamisons' truck had been discovered, deer hunters had stumbled across the skeleton remains of 2 adults and 1 child.
Oh.
So the bodies were so decomposed that it took 8 months before investigators were able to confirm through forensic testing that the remains were in fact those of the Jamison family. Their bodies were found in the smokestack hollow of the Panola Mountain. This area is extremely remote. By the time the bodies were found, obviously they were extremely decomposed. It only consisted of 3 skulls, a number of bone and bone fragments, and the victim's shoes, along with some scraps of clothing. And it was also said that Madison had a dried flower placed right by her.
Oh.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I feel like, oh my gosh, is this so bad, but could it have been a road rage thing gone bad?
It's
like roadside fucking...
The area is so remote that I wouldn't say road rage, but there's a theory that kind of is like that, and we'll get into that a little later.
Okay.
So, obviously, when people find the bodies, they have questions. I mean, these bodies were found less than 3 miles from where the truck was found. They got over 400 people to do this huge search. Like, why weren't these bodies found? They had cadaver dogs. They had everything. I mean, it seems... And it's not like the history lesson 5 minutes ago said, this is the no woods forest. It's like, there's not a lot of shit to really like cover the bodies. So it's kind of weird. And they're wondering like, what the hell happened with that? So all the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation told reporters was that despite the size of the search party, the falling leaves potentially obscured the bodies.
Okay.
I'm like, don't people move the leaves when you're searching?
How many leaves were there?
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I guess we got to take it because you're the boss here and I don't fucking know. So since the bodies were out in the elements...
Wait, there are no trees.
Exactly. So where did the bush... There were bushes. But like...
Okay.
Do leaves fall from bushes, I guess? Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, but... Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's
there are too many
sketch film.
Okay.
So I really don't like... I get that the cops are out here trying to do their job, but if you're gonna give me a bullshit excuse, like, maybe think a little bit harder than that. I don't know. Maybe it was sounded.
Goods, please.
I don't know. I saw some photos of the area. It does look like maybe a lot of leaves could gather. Maybe I'm just, like, really upset because there are no answers, but I don't know, man. It's just, it's all weird. So, since the bodies were out in the elements for so long, there was extensive decomposition. It made it pretty much impossible for coroners to determine what the cause of death for the family was. Now, it was reported that when the bodies were found, there was a small hole that was initially suspected to be a bullet hole that was found in Bobby's skull. But it would later be determined that it wasn't a bullet hole and that it was just, I guess, like, due to time or wear. But the hunters who found Bobby's body completely disagree with this. They say, like, in our opinion, that looks like a bullet hole. And in my professional opinion, I agree. I haven't seen the photos, but I think it's a bullet hole.
But it was only found in Bobby's.
Only on Bobby's skull.
Okay.
Yeah. None of the others had it. So I agree with the hunters. I think it was a bullet hole that was in the head. But we don't know. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like, after this, investigators were really hopeful that once they found the bodies, this would really get the case rolling. Like, hey, they would get some suspects, they would get some clues, some real shit would start going down. But, I mean, nothing really came of it. They had tons of people that they interviewed and brought in and questioned, and possible suspects that could have done it, but I mean, nothing hard enough to ever bring anyone in or charge anyone. So it's just, now all that's left is people wondering, well, what the hell actually happened out in those mountains? Like,
yeah, because I know you're going to get into the theories, but, you know, you think about how the money was, the $35,000 cash was left in the truck. They weren't being robbed.
Exactly. It's just, it's so confusing because with every theory, it sounds good, but there's a hole in every single one of them. And, like, none match up perfectly. And none of them make perfect sense. And that is what is so frustrating. Each of these could have a slight possibility of happening, but there's no one that's, like, absolutely hands down, this is what happened to them. I mean, there's just no way of knowing. And that is what I think is so freaking insane about this case. I mean, like, I don't know if y'all know, but disappearances are my niche. Like, out of true crime, disappearances are what get me going. Like, it's the what if, it's the questioning, it's like the thousands of possibilities of what could happen, and you just, like, it's the not knowing for me. I just, it irks people, but for me, it, like, that's what scares me, and that's why I get so intrigued with these, and I just got it. So
I think I have another favorite theory that I favor, but
which one?
There's definitely a hole in it. So about, like, what if it was a murder-suicide?
Okay, so that's actually one of the theories.
Yeah, but then it took a couple days for them to be noticed as missing, so their bodies could have gotten covered up by leaves, I guess, but really, could they have gotten covered up that much where no one would find them? With it being a murder-suicide? Because you can't, like, bury yourselves, you know?
Yeah. Well, it took them 8 days to find the truck from when they initially disappeared. So I guess that's enough time for leaves to cover it up. It's also...
But they would have found a gun or something.
It's also entirely... like, they could have just completely missed the area. I mean, I know 3 miles doesn't sound like a lot, but it kind of is a far distance. And if it's not... If they were searching in the left side and not the right, or if they stopped right before they reached that spot, I mean, like, I'm gonna be devil's advocate and say maybe it could have happened. Like, I hate to think that, but I don't know. So obviously the murder-suicide is honestly one that I think of as one of my go-tos for this case. So obviously after they found the 11-page hate letter, cops were thinking that. And I mean, I fucking did too. You have a woman who is mentally unstable. She's not on her medication. Maybe it's my bias towards just reading a case on a guy who was also not taking his medication and then killed someone.
My first go-to was aliens, and that wasn't backed
who
up
knows?
by anything. So
maybe the aliens fucking
the
buried
other
them
one
there.
that makes sense is
Who knows? Maybe the aliens put them there. You never know. It could have happened and we just don't know. But, so obviously they find that 11 page. They think something's going on. Another thing that is interesting that I should mention as to why this theory is so popular is that homegirl Sherilyn owned a 22 caliber pistol. 22 caliber pistol. I made that sound so not cool. You can tell I've been drinking wine. So, she had a .22 caliber pistol with her, and she always kept it in the trunk. It was like well known that she liked to carry her gun around. And as we know, Bobby was found with a small hole in the back of his head that could easily be mistaken for a bullet wound. But again, the hole in this case is that there isn't any gunshot evidence to Madison or Sherilyn.
Yeah.
Now, what I think is that Sherilyn and Bobby were definitely doing some kind of drug, and that there were empty pill bottles in the car or in the truck. I think that Sherilyn may have shot Bobby and then used the drugs to kill herself and Madison. Why I may think this, I don't know. I think it's plausible. Like, if it were to be the murder-suicide route, like, that's maybe how it would go. Women tend to poison themselves, and I would not want to shoot my child. Not to say that I would ever kill my child, but I guess if, like, she had at one point told Bobby, like, I would rather Madison, like, I forget the quote, and I thought that I wrote it down, but she had said that, like, she didn't want Madison growing up, like, alone with Bobby. So she was kind of implying that, like, she maybe wouldn't want Madison around at all if it was the choice of being left with just Bobby. Like, if Sherilyn were to maybe take her own life, which she had attempted to do. It's really out there, but I just think maybe it's something that could have happened. I also think the fact that there was a dried flower right next to Madison's remains, like, that's just like a motherly thing that you would do.
Right.
It's just like, I don't know. It seems very weird, but I don't know. They were all laying side by side, face down. So that's the one thing where I'm kind of like, I don't know why she would put them face down. Like, I would imagine if I were to kill myself, I would lay myself face up.
Yeah, unless you're overdosing, maybe you just, like, kind of
lay down. I mean, I don't know. And then, like you had said, the gun was never found. So the gun was missing from the truck. So, I mean, like, they just never found the gun. It's not like they found it and whatever. It's just straight up gone. It did take them 4 years to find the body. Like, I know wind can be pretty strong. I don't know if it would be strong enough to, like, move the gun. It seems more plausible that maybe someone may have found the gun or picked it up. Or, like, maybe...
Yeah, or maybe, you know, how the other theories were his hole in his skull being weathered or whatever. Or maybe he could have gotten the injury by another method of a different kind of tool that's pokey, or
maybe...
or hit on a rock that punctured him or something. I don't know.
Or maybe it wasn't Sherilyn that had used the gun at all. So another popular theory was that this was some kind of, like, drug deal gone wrong. And this would make a lot of sense with the $32,000 in the car. But double-edged sword, the fact that the $32K was still left in the truck
That's odd, because you
makes me... If you're doing a drug deal, like, you're gonna take that cash.
Yeah.
It's one thing, I guess, to, like... I guess you could say, like, maybe Bobby lied and was like, oh, we don't have the cash on us, and, like, maybe they tried to, like, steal their product and ended up getting killed. Mm-hmm. But it's like, they would have at least checked the truck.
Yeah.
They would have, like, there's... Like, I just think for a drug deal, like, there's no way that they wouldn't have gone through it, found the cash, or at least taken the cash. Like, if you're killing because of drugs, you're usually killing over money. So, I don't know. It's also, this is also a plausible idea because the Jamisons had lived in an area that was well known for its drug activities. Namely, they had a lot of, like, meth labs in the area. And in fact, Bobby had actually reported that someone was running a meth lab shortly before they disappeared.
That makes sense.
So, I mean, like, maybe that could have been motive for retaliation.
And it lines up to the theory, you know, of they were on drugs and acting weird.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, look back to the surveillance video, like, they weren't normal. I mean, like... I guess you could say that would be normal day-to-day activity for them, but for a regular person, I guess, if you were to just see your neighbor doing that, like, I would probably ask them if they were okay.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, maybe or, like, text my mom and ask what I should do.
Their customers, I don't know.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. So... And they're acting strangely. They appeared gaunt. I mean, it's a common sign of methamphetamine use. Not that it straight up means that you're using methamphetamine. It's just the dominoes are kind of laying how they are.
Yeah.
And also, it's just like, where the hell did they come up with that cash? They were both on disability. Mm-hmm. No way they could have made that. Like, they weren't working. It would also... explain the recent behavior that was shown by the Jamisons. So, like, the sudden lash outs, the really short temper, the acting really strange, the kind of falling in and out, not communicating with family that often. I mean, it took them 4 days to notice that they were missing. Yeah. It's kind of seems like maybe they were taking something. I mean, the family said that Bobby was out of it a lot. Now, the cops didn't find any drug paraphernalia in the truck, at the house. There's no evidence that they have taken drugs. All of this is purely theory.
Speculation, yeah.
Yeah, speculation, that's a better word. But it's just weird. The family says that they have a hard time believing this one because they're like, there's no way that they would have brought Madison. Like, they don't see them doing that at all. I'm like, I don't think you really know people on drugs then, because...
Yeah.
So, the fault with the drug deal gone wrong alibi. No, theory. Fuck. You're getting quality content here, guys, okay? So, the reason that the family had a really hard time believing this theory is that they were like, there's no way that the couple would have brought their daughter to the drug deal. Mm-hmm. Just wouldn't have happened.
Or like, if they making a pit stop on the way, they're like, maybe one last drug deal on the way.
If they were on drugs, then that's exactly, hands down, how it would have gone down. Exactly how you just said it. Just imagine it, like, in the backwoods. It like, when you're on drugs, you do not care. I saw Walter White, what's that show? Oh my god, Breaking Bad. I've seen Breaking Bad. I saw that one couple that was on meth and that one child in that one scene. It was bad. So it doesn't... I know that was a show, but unfortunately it's really not that far off from someone who's heavily in the midst of doing drugs and has a child. So as much as it, like, breaks their heart to think that, if they really were doing drugs, then they easily would have brought their 6-year-old. Either that or, like, left her at home alone, which I'm sure the Home Alone now, in retrospect, seems safer, but it's...
It still fucks me up that the dog lived, though, because a lot of people would have just, like...
And that's another thing. So, like, why I have a really hard time believing this theory is, why do you leave the dog but you kill the 6-year-old girl? Like, what? I don't know of a lot of cases where a 6-year-old has been responsible for, like, throwing down a drug team. I mean, I do understand that the mafia does kill children younger than that, I'm sure, for far less. So maybe I'm not that far off, but it just seems weird. Like, why would you, if you're willing to kill a 6-year-old girl, then why wouldn't you just kill the dog? Yeah. Is that fucked up of me to think? But I'm just like,
I mean, that's what I was wondering is, like, throughout everything, why did the dog live?
And why?
To be honest.
And why wouldn't you take the cash? It's the cash that is the biggest question mark in this whole thing. Like, and that's what throws it in for such a whirlwind, is like, one, why was the cash there? And two, if they were really killed by someone, why wouldn't they take it? Unless, like, I guess they didn't know. Obviously, they left the dog in there. It's okay. It's a tiny dog. It's not like they were scared that the dog was going to attack them or something like that. And that's why they didn't search the truck. Like, this is a tiny little, like, Maltese Shih Tzu type looking dog. It's not going to do shit. Like, either could have opened the door and let it go and it wouldn't have bothered them, or they just didn't search it for a reason. Or, like, maybe someone planted the 32K to, like, add that extra layer, because the 32K really messes me up. That's like the one thing that I have a really hard time figuring out with this.
Yeah, it's very odd.
Yeah, but there's just no way, if it was a drug deal, that they wouldn't have taken that money, in my mind. Like,
right,
99%. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, unless, like, they just didn't know it was there, but then within a drug deal, how do you not know there's money anywhere?
Like, it was hidden.
Search it.
It was hidden. It wasn't like it was out in plain sight, but exactly, like, you would search it. The cops were able to find it. If the cops could find it, like, easily, these drug people could have found it. It's like, it's not like it was really hidden in a safe, or they had to, like, cut some seats open to find it. Like, it was hidden inside of a toolbox. So it's, yeah, it's not in plain sight, but it's not that hard to find. You know what I mean? It's
Unless
just, it's
you're
all
a dummy. I don't know.
I'm like, you could say, like, Bobby could have said, like, oh, I don't have the money on me, but I mean, like, why would they take his word for it? Or why would they take their word for it? That they didn't, like, I would have at least searched. It's just fucking weird. I don't know. Another theory, instead of drug dealers, Satanic Cult.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's always got to be that one thrown in there.
It's not that far off. So, and actually, I think I'll probably use this photo. They said it was, like, in the area where they went missing, but there is a photo that you can find when you Google the Jamison's death of, like, an area that they claim was, like, immediately where the truck was, and literally, like, a couple of feet off, there's this abandoned car. It's like a really wrecked car, no way for you to move it, like, and apparently some satanic culty things were written on it.
Oh.
And Sherilyn didn't like that, and her friend actually said that she had, like, wrote over the satanic message and, like, had put some positive vibes, like, some real, like, peace, love, live, laugh, love, you know, probably that. She was just, like, writing over it, so she was like, maybe that could have upset someone. Obviously, if someone is, like, willing to go out into the middle of nowhere around an abandoned, like, I think of that one photo, you know what I'm talking about? It's the people in all black hoods around an abandoned car on fire, and they're all just, like, hands raised, like, around. Do you not know? No, I'm gonna post. I will post that photo. It's so fucking creepy, but I just think of that. I might
recognize it after seeing it, but
I'll send it. I'm gonna send it to you right now. All right, and sorry, after looking up that photo, the car is not on fire, but let's just say it would have been such a nice dramatic effect if it was. But yeah, like, when I think of that friend describing that scene, like, this is what I think of. I think of, like,
shit.
Yeah, I think of them, like, all standing around, like, this is some serious shit. This isn't, like, I wouldn't joke around with these people by any means. Like, I'm a shit stir. I wouldn't stir that shit. So, it obviously is like kind of weird. They thought like maybe she would have pissed off the wrong person. Also, Sherilyn's mother, Connie Coton, I'm so sorry if I said the last name wrong, claims that the daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter were actually on an Oklahoma cult hit list.
Oh.
Yeah, so she was quoted to say that this part of Oklahoma is known for that, cults and stuff like that. From what I've been told and from what I've read, I was told that she was on the cults hit list.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, and I mean, it's coming from her mom, so it's...
Yeah.
I don't think she would have a reason to lie. And I mean, like, Sherilyn was kind of like into that witchy stuff, so maybe not that cults are witchy by any means, but there are
Cocoton.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But
I looked it up and I'm like, wow.
No, yeah, you're good. But
holy shit.
Either way, it's just like it's weird. Not that all cults are like that, but like witchy,
and
but
they can be satanic, witchy, or religious.
Yeah, but it's
too.
like there are definitely cults that are like that. It's weird. But the cops were never able to find a link to any kind of cult, nor were they like the mother never gave a name. She never said like this cult specifically was targeted. She just said like a cult in general. And there are a shit ton, so I don't know. And the theory kind of like dries up there. Police weren't really able to find any kind of like link to this theory. It's all kind of weird. One of the obvious ones, I'm just going to mention it real quick before I forget because it's at the very top of my notes. One of the theories that was said, and I think is literally the least possible, but we're still going to talk about it, is that they got lost in the woods. So authorities said that they had possibly just decided to lock the dog in the truck. They were going to take a quick walk and for whatever reason just took the wrong direction and died of hypothermia before they were able to make it back to the truck safely.
Was it that cold? It's not that cold that time of year.
It was October, right? October 9th, I believe, is when they went missing.
It can be cold, but...
This is Oklahoma, though.
Yeah.
Oklahoma is cold. It's up north.
It can be.
Oh, no. I'm thinking of Ohio. I'm so sorry. Hello, it's right above me. I don't know. I mean,
The dog's name is Maisie.
Yeah, Maisie. Sorry, I did not say that. Thank you for doing my job for me.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I just...
But I mean... Well, definitely, so even if it's not, like, that cold, definitely at nighttime in that kind of, like, terrain, it for sure can dip into, like, 30s, 40s. You could for sure get hypothermia. Like, I don't think that they were wearing any type of equipment ready to be, like, camping out for a day or two. But okay, so people have definitely not been able to find their way back, and they've only been, like, a mile out. So it's totally possible for them to be 2.7, like 3 miles out from where their truck was and get lost. But the thing is that Bobby had really bad back problems. I mean, he was highly medicated. Half of the time was completely out of it because he was on such high dosage of pain pills.
Yeah.
So if not the pain pills, Bobby's back problem would have made it extremely difficult, if not like impossible, for him to take this journey. Or if he did
to walk randomly that far for no reason, especially if they're just going to use the bathroom or something.
Yeah,
walk that far.
It's extremely hilly. Like even though there isn't a lot of woods, it's not like a super hard hike. It's, well, I don't know. It may be a hard hike, but it's still like you got to climb up a hill, and I've climbed up a hill. Shit's not easy, okay? Talk about out of breath. It's hard.
And I have a bad back, okay?
Yeah, we got some scoliosis up in here. Some worse than others. I won't say who. But
thank you.
Don't worry, I got your back.
Literally.
Got your curved ass back.
As for Sara.
Sorry, I slay. But yeah, it was just like, I, on a good day, don't want to go on a 3-mile hike, and I'm in okay shape. So I don't think with the bad back that Bobby would want to do it. So it makes you seem like it's not something that willingly would have happened. Also, authorities had said that the way that the truck was parked, and I mean, like, by looking at the photos of it, it's not on a for real road. It's kind of like on a dirt road, but it's parked as if like it suddenly stopped. Like, they just in the middle of the dirt road decided, hey, I'm gonna put this in park and I'm just gonna leave it here. Mm-hmm. Either that or like someone said, hey, stop and get out, and they did. So it's...
Because, the truck didn't have a flat or anything, right?
No, it was perfectly fine. It wasn't out of gas. No flat. The engine was running. I mean, there was no reason for them to say, like, oh, there's something wrong with the truck. We got to stop and try and fix it. It wasn't anything like that. It's either they got out on their own accord or someone forcefully stopped them and got them out. But even then, from what they described, I mean, I know, like, dust and all that stuff can, like, probably, like, move the footprints or maybe any sign of a struggle that could have happened. It possibly was enough time, but I don't know. It's there's literally a hole in every one of these, and that's what makes it so hard. So I really don't think that they got lost in the woods. Out of all of the theories, I think this one is...
Because there's no trees or anything.
The closest to bullshit. Yeah, it's not even woods. They didn't get lost.
Their car from probably 2 miles away.
Probably just get on a really tall fucking hill and you'll be good to go. So it's just weird. But it's a theory that they said. I gotta throw it out there. I gotta do some of my research.
What really gets me is the forest without trees. Like...
Yeah, that's that...
I thought that's what made a forest, but I guess not.
Not only do you learn about forests in here, you learn French terms that mean no forest, so you're welcome. Yeah, go home and tell that to your parents, huh? Okay, so this next theory, honestly, it came out of the ballpark for me when I first heard about this case, and I'm sure when investigators started doing research on this, it was kind of thrown out in the ballpark for them. I don't know, maybe it was just me. I mean, I have daddy issues, but shit, girl, not like this. Well, we'll see.
Okay.
So one of the theories is that Bobby's dad actually killed them.
Oh.
Yeah, it's insane. So it just took a twist into childhood Traumaville. So the family actually did have a... Choo-choo! Here's your conductor. I was gonna make a joke, but just know I'm the conductor for a reason. So the family did have a protective order against Bobby's dad. His name is Bob Dean Jamison. So the protective order was filed in 2009. So this was just 6 months before the family disappeared. So the plot thickens a little bit when they find this out. So when they get this protective order, there's a claim that Bob Dean Jamison had actually threatened to kill Bobby over some business dealings that had gone wrong. So what had happened was that Bob had owned a gas station and Bobby had worked like in that gas station, and they had some kind of like handshake and agreement that I don't know if Bobby was paid some kind of salary or whatnot, but it was agreed upon that when the gas station would be sold, that Bobby would get half of the proceeds. And whenever the gas station was sold, Bobby didn't see a cent. So obviously tensions grew really high. So yeah, I do believe that this happens after the whole gas station feud. I'm sorry that I didn't do my research that good, but at the same time you signed up for this podcast, you know what you're getting. So on November 1st of 2008, Bobby's father actually hit him with the car.
Oh.
Like full on purpose hit him with the car. Like this wasn't a little, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I accidentally tapped you.
It's hard.
Like, no, I'm going to fucking run you over and I hope you don't get up.
Oh. Did he get up?
Yeah.
Cool.
But then he went on to disappear, so now we're like, well.
Oh, yeah, true.
What's going on? So there were also rumors that Bob had ties with the Mexican mafia.
Oh.
It also kind of ties into the drug theory. So, like, if Bob was in the Mexican mafia, maybe Bobby started, like, selling product for him.
Right.
Right? Like, I mean, I didn't really think of that, but it could have happened,
I mean,
right?
Who
I don't
knows
know
what the local scene is like?
Like, people in Oklahoma are definitely down to do drugs.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely love meth up there when you get into certain parts.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Maybe they saw it as a good business opportunity. But then again, they're not good business partners, because obviously the gas station and the hitting with the car. So obviously I just disproved that theory right there. But you just you never know.
You never know. Yeah,
You never know. But then again, Bobby's father dies like 2 months after the family went missing.
Oh.
Yeah. So he decides to die in December of 2009. He dies in December of 2009. And actually at the time of the disappearance, he was in hospice. So the uncle claims. I don't think that there's any like official documentation saying that he was in hospice, but he dies 2 months later. Like, he wasn't in good shape. I don't think that he would have been able to physically handle the killing of 3 people.
Right.
But that doesn't like exclude him hiring someone to kill them.
Yeah. What
So
about the uncle? Who the fuck is he?
Yeah, where the fuck was this uncle on that day, huh? Mm-hmm. What does his bank account look like right now? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But at this point, it's just like we're never gonna know. Bob died. If he did hire someone, they're probably long gone. They're probably not gonna talk unless they're drunk in some bar, which we should be hearing about it any year now, if that is a possibility. It's just, it doesn't seem possible that in his months leading up to his death that he would have taken the energy to pull out a hit. Right. But at the same time, like 6 months before he died, he was doing or like 8 months before he died. So 6 months before the family disappeared, 8 months before he died, they had gotten that protective order because he was fucking threatening to kill him and hitting him with cars and shit. So I don't know, like, there are holes, but at the same time, it's weird. If I were on my deathbed, you could easily make a hit. But there's just, I feel like at this point, it's really hard to prove it. Mm-hmm. So it's up in the air until someone possibly comes out and says, hey, I was hired. But at this point, I just really don't see that happening. So the next theory comes after a show on Investigation Discovery disappeared, pops on the air in 2010. So once the show comes on air, the authorities receive a really strange phone call. And in this phone call, there's a woman. And what she says is that she is a part of a white supremacy group. And that there's a book. And in this book contains a list of a group of people, like a long list of names of everyone that this group has had a problem with and needs to be taken care of. Yeah. Of course, I'd be on the phone like, okay, I need more details. Please give me more. I don't really believe you. People are fucked up.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Like, I need receipts, girl. Give me some hard-ass evidence. I need all the receipts. I need times. I need dates. I need names. So she says, okay. She has been going to these meetings for a while. And it's kind of, I don't know if she's trying to be like a vigilante. I mean, like, you're going to white supremacy meetings. So I don't know if you're going there and do you feel bad that there's a name of books or a name of a list of names. Yeah. A book of names that want to die and you don't want those people to die. But at the same time, like, you're going to white supremacy meetings. So I don't really know, like, what her intention was there. But she said that she would go to these meetings and try to memorize as many names as she could. And she would go back home and she would look up these names on the internet. And what she found was that many of these names were actually missing person cases around the area. And on that list of names was the Jamison family.
Oh, what?
Yeah. And
God.
Yeah, and she did give some receipts. So she spoke about Bobby's wedding ring, which I wasn't able to get like a photo of. Investigators did keep this under wraps, so I would understand why I wasn't able to really find one, but it has a certain insignia on it, which she was able to tell in detail. And investigators said that there was no way that people would have known about it unless that they would have like known Bobby. That was the only way that they would have really known about it. And she also talked about how members in the group, she overheard these members saying how they wanted to take care of him. And I'm sorry, this is really disturbing. One of the guys had supposedly talked about how he had liked to put Madison on his lap and how good it made him feel.
Oh no.
So I don't know how this guy would have known the family or known Madison. I don't think that the Jamisons were a part of a white supremacy group. Later on, I'll kind of like go into detail about why I think they wouldn't be. So I don't know if like maybe this guy knew them around church. It's not
that's
like
probably why they were put on their list, because they weren't involved in the group somehow.
Maybe like they had been invited and
maybe
and so actually it's good thing that you brought this up.
Scoop.
So actually there was this handyman that had lived with the Jamisons, and his name was Kenneth Bellows, and it's kind of like undetermined how long he had lived with them, but for some time he had lived with them. He was like down in the dumps, just needed some help, and the Jamisons took him in and were like, we'll get you the help that you need. Because they're like very involved, they're very spiritual, they're like helping out, give one a helping hand, whatnot. I guess like they were able to like keep their personal shit under wraps and have this guy there too, like in the house, and I guess, I don't know. But it came at a headway when in August of 2009, Bello, the guy that was living with them, had found out that Sherilyn actually had some Native American heritage.
Oh.
And revealed his racist ways.
Oh, wow.
So he was a white supremacist himself. He was an asshole. And he started to talk shit. Like, I guess make little jabs here and there about her heritage.
That's so annoying because it's so recent, you know, when you consider, and they're, you know, Oklahoma's full of natives, so.
Yes, and I'm sure that you can attest, if you look up a photo of Sherilyn, she doesn't look very Native American, like when you look at her at first. So Sara, I've known that like you have dealt with that in the past of people calling you out or trying to say shit about your heritage because you look a certain way. So it's like people are fucking assholes, and Sherilyn was having no part of it, just like you don't have no part of it, because fuck people that do that shit. She wanted to show her daughter that in no way is this acceptable for humans to treat other humans like this, which I completely agree with, hands down to you, Sherilyn. But the way she went about it, I don't really, I don't know if she did that right. Maybe you don't show your daughter that it's acceptable to bring out your .22 caliber pistol and shoot it at the ground by his feet. Oh yeah, well, whatever. I wrote my notes down like that. Okay, I don't know. I don't do guns.
How it's written, but I don't do guns either. But I do know you can just do .22 caliber, 22 cal.
Okay, she had a .22 cal, you know. And she just started putting that thing into the ground right by his feet. So, eventually she moved it from the ground by his feet just straight at him and said, you need to get the fuck out. And basically kicked him out of the house, which I agree. He should have been kicked out because in no way is that acceptable. And you shouldn't talk shit about anybody based on anything that has to deal with anything other than how they act as a human being.
Yeah.
But I don't think maybe that way was the best.
I agree.
But at the same time, this gives motive. If Bellows was maybe a part of this white supremacy group, he could have easily gone to them, said, this crazy bee did all this ish. She's Native American. let's
it
fucking
could have
get
been
her.
him or someone in his group.
Yeah. So it doesn't like...
Or all of them. Ugh.
Yeah. You don't fucking... And then that quote about Madison, fucking weird. It's just like...
Yeah. Gross. Ew.
Yeah. It's all weird. It's all sketchy. And the fact that this woman was able to, like, describe in intimate detail, like, the ring that Bobby had, and, like, obviously, when you think of a wedding ring, you don't think of an insignia on a wedding ring. So if it wasn't made public information, how would this woman have known? Right. Unless, like, maybe she... I don't know. When I look at photos, I guess I didn't, like, do enough evidence of, like, zooming into the wedding finger, but I don't think that you are able to tell right off of a photo that has been put to the public. So it adds a layer of mystery. Like, how did this woman know? Does this validate some of her claims? Or is she just some fucked up woman who saw an episode and wanted to get some 15 minutes of fame anonymously and, like, make some fucked up shit? Like, people fucking suck. That's my slogan for life. Like, you just don't know. You really don't know. It definitely adds a layer. It's definitely something to think about. Do I 100% believe it? No. I'm leaning more towards other theories, but it definitely is an interesting one, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
So the next theory that authorities and people give us, Simba is trying to ruin this fucking podcast. I swear to God.
Simba, I love you. It's okay. I know you can hear my frequencies.
It's okay. You're a sweet, sweet boy. You just like to eat way too much. Good kitty. So another theory that the authorities had come up with was the witchcraft possession theory. So obviously after talking to that family pastor, Gary Brandon, and after Brandon telling the police that the family had been involved in some kind of spiritual warfare, they thought that spirits were in the house. The friends and family had maybe fed in to the idea. I don't know if they had voiced their opinions to Sherilyn and Bobby, but they thought maybe the house was haunted and maybe like kind of fed into that energy of telling them like, yeah, something weird happened or something strange. Cops did find a witch's Bible when they searched the house, but I mean, it fits the description of the Satanic Bible that Bobby said that he was going to buy in order to like cleanse the house himself and like drive the spirits away. But it didn't help that they found this. Yeah. And then on top of that, you had like Sherilyn writing on the storage unit, like, oh, witches' cats must not be messed with. And like, it's just kind of weird. But at the same time, like, Sherilyn had wrote over the satanic messages on that one car, so if she wasn't any kind of witchcraft, I guess it would be like a good kind, but at the same time, her spirituality seemed to be more of like a godly, I don't know, but she did do seances, so it's hard, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe she was just figuring it out, dabbling in some shit.
Yeah, she was just experimenting, learning herself. It changed with her moods. We literally do not...
If you think your house is haunted, you're more willing to kind of do research into other religions or beliefs to figure out what's going on, you know?
And it's hard to say because the friend didn't like go into detail about what they did the seances on, if she was like asking specific questions to the spirits that she thought was living in the house or whatnot, but
for fun or
yeah, like why night, let's do a Ouija board. Fuck that, don't ever fucking ask me that. Low key, it's not ever gonna happen.
I know what we're doing this Saturday.
Hell to the no. I don't need no demons in this house. I don't believe in ghosts, but holy shit, I don't need to find out that way. Let's no. We'll do the baby powder by the railroad tracks. That seems much safer to me. Yeah. But yeah, it's fucked. They don't have any baby powder to put on the back of their car. They don't like, they don't have a for sure way of like asking the spirits straight up, hey, are you here? And showing the cops like, hey, spirits are here at my house. So it's, you just have some parents doing some kooky things with their pastor, and a satanic vehicle that was not that far away from where their truck was abandoned. You have a lot of like spooky shit in the middle of this disappearance, which is why it's so intriguing to me, because it's like a little mix of everything, you know?
Yeah, and how close they were to their car, and
yeah,
the search party was so big. It makes you think, like, were they somewhere else for a little bit and put there afterwards?
Oh my god, no, that's literally something that I thought about. No, yeah. One of the theories, as soon as I heard that the cops say like, oh, maybe it was the leaves, I was like, no, maybe it was someone had waited until they were done searching and then placed the bodies there. And it seems like, so if it wasn't a motherly thing to have that flower, that dried flower placed by Madison,
oh my god,
it was a sympathy. This person was sympathetic, but then it's like, how did Sherilyn and Madison die though? If you didn't find bullet holes in them, like if they weren't killed execution style, was it maybe, I mean, it's not like they found, well, they
unless
didn't,
it was like bullets to the chest, but then
yeah, because
find bullets and stuff, right?
They didn't, so they didn't find the full skeletal remains, like they didn't find full skeletons. It was the skull, the 3 skulls, like some of the bone fragments. I had said it earlier, like a little bit of clothing was left, but God. Like it's not like they found the full 3 skeletons. So definitely over the 4 years, like some shit was moved around. So that's why I'm like, it's totally possible. If I don't know what kind of bones were left, but it's like, if a fucking rib cage was able to like move into nowhere, then like, I get that a gun is metal, but a gun could totally like fucking blow off or like get buried and we won't find it for another year. Or for someone, like if they took Sherilyn's gun, they killed him and then they took it, and like we're never going to find it until it like pings off of a register thing, which probably won't, because by now the numbers are probably shaken down and it's or it's like in the fucking middle of the ocean somewhere. It's just like there are so many fucking questions, and we're just not gonna know. But the last piece of evidence that I will give, and it ties in with the last theory that they do give us, I guess, the audience, unless you think of your own, like we're kind of doing right now, is that the family was kidnapped by pedophiles. And Sara, I did send you a photo. Go look at it now. Now is the time to open it for the grand reveal.
I've been waiting for this all night.
People of the podcast, go to our Instagram at RAR Podcast. I will post it. So this photo that Sara's looking and gasping at right now is the last photo that was taken of Madison. And this was found on Bobby's phone. And for those who cannot...
Right?
Her father, yes. For those who can't see... It seems kind of like a normal photo, I guess, until you hear that it's the last photo of this 6-year-old alive.
Because they are off in the woods somewhere.
Yeah, so, like, you do see a tree, so it's not, like, completely woodless. There's definitely a woods behind her. There's, like, a rock, there's some brush, there's what looks like a tree. It's fairly wooded. But it's her expression that
she's not
I guess
happy.
makes it, she's really awkward. She
has her arms crossed. She looks like she's in the middle of complaining.
She's like kind of looking off to the side, and she kind of like has that awkward kind of like laugh smile,
saying,
you know, like
I don't want to do this.
Yeah, it's like it's the look that I give when people ask me if I'm okay. I'm like exactly.
I'm not okay.
Yeah, I just go,
You need to charge your phone.
Me? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that's fine. That's not what we're talking about here.
Sorry.
So, the people, or the family and friends that saw this photo are so adamant that Bobby and Sherilyn did not take the photo. But the photo...
Where would they have taken it? Because of the trees and stuff.
So, there's no doubt that it wasn't taken in the woods. But the family and friends say that if Bobby or Sherilyn had been behind that camera, she wouldn't have looked like that.
She would have been smiling. Yeah.
She would have smiled. She would have looked at the camera. Which I'm like, my son isn't 6 years old, but I remember slightly being 6 years old.
Oh yeah,
I have photos of me at 6 years old.
She could have been grumpy in a tantrum. Anything.
I was given the ugliest faces to my mom at 6.
Always throwing tantrums. Hell yeah.
So when I heard that comment, I was like, that's a little silly. Like, you can't tell a 6-year-old to look over and just expect them to look over and smile. Like, they're fucking 6.
Yeah, but what throws me off is the wooded areas, because the whole scene of, you know, where their truck is and everything is a non-wooded forest.
Okay, so I may have, like, fudged how remote and, like, non-hilly or, like, non-woody it is. I mean, it's pretty hilly. It's just not, like, it's not a solid wood. It's like a landing strip. You know, it's not a full bush.
Okay. Yeah, if I'm thinking correctly of my Oklahoman experiences, it's a lot of semi-wooded, semi-bush, semi-farm.
Yeah, so, like, I'll send you a photo right now of kind of what the terrain looked like. So, like, obviously in the greener areas, that's, like, where you have some trees and whatnot. But it's, like, really only in the middle, and then around it, it's pretty desolate. Like, there's not really... It's just a lot of, like...
Good one.
Ground. Yeah. Come here for big words that you shouldn't use in everyday conversation because we use them incorrectly. But yeah, so I mean, like, I made it seem a lot less flat than it is. It has some woods. It's just not like the Appalachian Trail, you know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean...
Yeah?
That's really it that they have for theories.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I think I'm leaning into the... Okay, so since their full skeletal remains weren't discovered, I'm leaning less towards the murder-suicide, obviously. God,
wait, why
crazy.
less? Why less?
Because their full remains would have been found pretty much.
But like over 4 years? No.
Maybe, yeah. Because if they were to be preserved and covered up, it's less likely.
But they weren't covered up. If they would have been like
if
just dead and buried in like an unmarked grave.
But you can't bury yourself if you...
But it's like dinosaur fossils aren't found intact, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like certain if they are left out in the elements like they were, it's totally possible for like a fucking rib cage to go missing.
But then they'd find the gun.
But that, like, if the rib cage could move, then like why couldn't the gun move a little bit? Or what if someone like found the gun and just picked it up and like didn't think to look around the area? It was like just some teenagers and they just happened to find the gun but not the bodies.
I don't know. I think there's more into it that we don't know. And because just how do you explain, you know, the dog being alive?
I think
all of the skeletal remains being found, not the gun, cash being there. If it was a drug deal, they would have had the drugs and sold them, and they would have had the cash and drugs. And so
1,000%, if it wasn't Sherilyn, it was somebody outside of the family that killed them.
Yeah.
Is that obvious?
And how do you feel about Sherilyn's mom claiming the cult thing?
I believe more of the white supremacy thing after that investigation caller than I do about the cult thing.
Yeah, well, cult.
True. It's all culty. But it's just... What I think happened, if it wasn't some kind of hit that was put out by this group or that was put out by Bobby's dad, which, and I know I said that it wasn't, I didn't find it sus that the son didn't know. I want to say in the Crime Watch that the mom and the other family members did know that they were talking about moving. So it's possible that people could have known like what their plans were. But it's hard. Like, if it's a hit and they didn't say anything, how did they know that they were going to be in that area? You know what I mean?
Right.
Unless, like, they were following them. And I guess
I'm looking at that map now, and I see where the Jamison truck was found. I see where the family remains were found. And then in the middle of it is Smokestack Hollow.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's, like, the area, the name of the area.
Okay. Ooh, that's weird.
Yeah. I'll post. It's kind of hard there are so many photos, so I will post the ones that I think are best. If you want to look, go just Google the Jamison deaths, go to images. They're all there. This case is so mind baffling. I mean, I'm really into disappearances. This is not the first one this is the first one that we're going over. This isn't the last one that we're going to go over. But it definitely, in terms of like theories, usually you have like one or two and you're like, yeah, that's solid. This one, it's like you can kind of have an understanding for almost everyone, except for the Lost in Woods. I'm like, I just don't think that there's any way that they got lost in the woods.
No.
It was everyone except that one. Yeah, that and like, homeboy you can't get me to hike 3 miles, like, let alone a guy who has back problems. And then like, you have a 6-year-old. No, it's all very, I don't think that they were kidnapped by pedophiles, because a pedophile would have taken Madison, unless it was like for a day thing, which is really disturbing to think about. But I just have a hard time believing that they would have left Madison with the parents. They would have taken her.
Yeah. Or like eventually gotten rid of all of them, held on to them for a while.
At least like dump the parents and then take Madison, and he would have found her at a different location. For not an expert, but someone who likes to read a lot about true crime cases, I just feel like that's the most plausible thing. If you were a pedophile, like, that's what you would want to do. Why would you want to keep her near the family? I guess like if they're dead and you're really that fucked up, you wouldn't care. You would just get it done.
You know, people have different fantasies about kidnapping in general,
I guess,
whether it be kids or not.
Yeah, I'm not that fucked up. I really can't think that.
Yeah, and then you could kidnap the whole family and then abuse them differently, and who knows?
Yeah. And it's just so hard because you don't have a reason as to why they died. Like, the autopsies weren't able to find anything out. Mm-hmm. So you have no idea how they died. All you know is that they were laying face down, side by side, and that's it.
Yeah. Ugh, that's creepy.
It's fucking tragic. It's terrible. The fact that a 6-year-old had to get drawn into that for whatever the reason was is horrifying. And either way, you had a entire family wiped out, and we have no idea why.
Right.
It's just literally leaves you awake at night.
The scariest thing is the unknown.
Yeah, because you just have like, who are we to say that fucking aliens didn't like scoop them up and just plop them back down? I mean, like, we have heard crazier.
Right. Shit's crazy.
It's so insane, and this is gonna probably be one of the first things I ask God if he's real and I go to heaven. And I'm like, hey, what happened here? I need to know.
Shit. That story definitely killed my buzz.
Yeah, so that is the Jamison Family Disappearance and Murder. And holy shit, I need to chug the rest of this glass after that one, because it's now really late at night and I have to go to sleep.
Don't cry.
And I have a baby boy, and now I'm really concerned. But it's just, whoa, was it drugs? Was it revenge? Was it rage?
Was it perhaps circumstance?
What? What did you just say?
Okay, so it's circumstance, but by perhaps. So perhaps instance. Am I making it up?
I've never heard of that term, but you do you, boo boo.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just
Since
stick with it.
94.
Perhappenstance, yeah.
Perhappenstance.
It's so perhappenstance. It fucking boggles the shit out of me, man.
I'm gonna be left with questions as I lay my head down tonight, and
Yeah.
You're
welcome.
Wow.
You're welcome. I'm so glad that I could ruin your night.
Yes,
because I definitely ruined mine doing the research for this one.
I've heard of this case, but it was a long time ago. And
yeah.
So
same.
I definitely the refresher was nice as much as it was a buzzkill, but thank you.
It was, I don't want to say fun. It was interesting to do the research on this and kind of like relearn the case, learn some details, because obviously I was a wee mere child when this happened. So I could only concern myself with about 5 seconds of the non-morbid shit. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to be thinking about this at least for the next hour.
Hell yeah, me too. Well, sweet dreams.
Yeah, sweet dreams. If you have any theories, any
additions,
anything that you think that you should add, feel free to email us. Our email is redrumandredwinepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, hit us up on Twitter and Instagram. It's at RARW podcast.
Yes. And if any of that sounded confusing, feel free to look down below, because we're a little tipsy at this point. Look down below. It will be it's linked down below for you. Well, we hope that you keep drinking.
Yeah, keep drinking. Ponder this topic. Tune in next time. I'll be talking about a fun tale where a parachuting accident goes wrong.
Ooh, I'm excited. Okay. Well, oh fuck, is that wrong to say? I feel so bad sometimes. I'm intrigued.
It's okay once you kind of see what's involved, because it's like.
I'm intrigued to hear the details of this mysterious case.
Yes.
Well. Until next time, keep drinking your rum. No, keep drinking your... keep drinking...
Red wine while we talk about red rum.
Keep drinking your wine while you watch out for that red rum in the mirror. Well, until next time, this has been Kristen.
And Sara with red rum and red wine, bitches.
Bye.
Bye.